Uh, Hello everyone. Good morning. Hope everyone is doing good. So let's wait for 2 more minutes for others to join, and then we'll get started. Uh, okay, let's get started. I hope I'm audible. Can somebody confirm? I'm sharing my screen as well, so just confirm if my screen is also visible. Okay, I hope it's visible. Fine. So let's get started. So today's topic is visualization. So now we have ideally just one more day left, which was scheduled for you guys, right? It was a 14 days training, so including today. So there's the last day supposed to be tomorrow, but then there are some additional thing which I wanted to cover, which I feel might be very much helpful for you guys, because I don't want to rush it out when we have spent so much time. So why not just one more day extra? uh, you know so one more day extra. And why? So it is just for you, right? So on the last day, so that is on Friday. Okay, so we will be discussing whatever topics you have doubts, because I want to give you that extra day to you guys to check it out. If you want me to revise some topic where you are stuck, we can do that. Otherwise, what I will be doing is I will be walking through some more practical example, whatever in day to day project what we do. I will walk you through some of those live examples to give you an idea that how whatever you have learned in these 14 days is implemented, how much powerful it is. Okay, so that you can appreciate whatever you have learned and keep up the pace and keep on learning in the same thing. Because trust me, 14 days are not enough to whatever we have learned. But it was a structured program, and you now what are supposed to know. Okay, but if you really want to learn, you will have to do the practice. Without practice, nobody, even if I sit the whole day, you are not going to learn until unless you practice by your own self and try out all the commands at your own, and then only you will be getting hold of it. Okay, so try to make maximum out of it. So today's topic is gonna be visualization. So we will be walking going through all the possible like majority of the library which we used, right? What all different functions are there, what all different kind of plots are there, how do we leverage them, all of them, right? So once we do that, then tomorrow's topic is gonna be I have there's some more practical examples, right? And day after tomorrow, it's gonna be your doubt clearing session. Then there will be some more practical example, and there are gonna be quiz at the last. Okay, so that's the 3 day program, including today. So if you really want to make best out of it, I would really encourage if you can tell me today or tomorrow what are different topics you want me to revise, so that we can do we can get maximum out of it whatever you have learned. If you have any particular topic, any queries, I want to give that one day to you guys to clarify your doubts. Okay, so if you are interested, I would encourage you, please tell me today or tomorrow whatever topic if you want me to revise, or if you have any query, we can clarify that on Friday. Okay. Cool. So with that, let's get started with visualization. So what is visualization, right? So again, all this material has been given. So I have shared this visualization slide with, and they will be uploading, ExcelR team will be uploading that in the portal. So the first link is, so it's a very nice tutorial I found with Simply Learn course. So it's part of their course. So I thought of teaching you through that course as well, right? So it's a very nicely they have written, right? So let's go through that. So what is data visualization? Okay, so we will be seeking what is data visualization, how do we do it in Python, what are different libraries. So there are two major libraries, Matplot and Seaborn. So we have already seen that yesterday, right? I showed you there is this Matplot library and Seaborn library where which we imported, through which we did pair plot and all the other plots, right? Box plots. So those are the two major library. Then we will be learning what are line charts, bar charts, histogram, scatter plot, heat maps. So yesterday also we saw heat maps, but we'll learn today in more detail what all these different visualization tools and charts are, and how make use out of it. Okay, so what is data visualization? Right, so basically it is a field in data analysis that deals with visual representation of data. It graphically plots the data in an effective way to communicate inferences from the data. So why do we need data visualization on the first hand? Just take a moment and think through it, that why do you need a chart? Do you think uh, can you represent something without chart as well? There is always a way, right? You can put it in Excel file, you can put it in a table format, and you can show that. So what is the need of data visualization? Just think through it and give me some answer in chat. Why do you think that visualization is important? No answers? Nobody thinks that it is important? Yes, it is important. Visualization is important. Hello. Yeah, I know I got stuck. So, am I audible now? Okay, perfect. Yes. Yeah. So, as I was saying, right? Like, why do you think? So, yeah, I was giving examples. There is a blog one wherein, there are a lot of which is text heavy, right? There are a lot of tables are there, and there is a blog two where only pictures are there, diagrams are there, flow charts are there. So, you tell me which blog you will choose to read, blog one or two. I'm not sharing anything, but yeah, I can share my screen. Yep. So blog two, right? Only just one person responded. Others will read blog one or what? Yeah, blog two, because our human brain is trained like that we love to see pictures. We feel connected with the pictures. We think because our mind takes more time to read and process and understand rather than by looking at the picture and taking an inference out of it very quickly. ठीक है, आप खुद कभी ट्राई करना. इफ आई गिव यू अ टेबल एंड गिव इट इन असेंडिंग ऑर्डर, I mean, right, and then tell you ki, tell me what is the maximum value out of it, and if I tell you, show you in the chart, I'm pretty sure you will tell quickly whoever is looking at the chart rather than comparing to the table. Okay, for that simple reason we use data visualization. Okay, so using data visualization, we can get a visual summary of our data with pictures, maps, graphs. The human mind has an easier time processing and understanding any given data. It plays a significant role in representation of both small and large data set, but it is especially useful when we have large data set. Okay, where it is impossible to see all of our data, let alone process and understand it manually. It is even more powerful when you have larger data set, because again it became humanly impossible or very difficult to go through all the large data set or large tables. It's very easy to look at the picture. So how do we do in Python, right? So Python offers plotting, several plotting libraries, and majority of them mostly are Matplot and Seaborn, and many other such visualization package with different features for creating informative, customized, and appealing plots to present data in most and simple and effective way. For now, we are just focusing on these two library, Matplot and Seaborn. Okay, let's see them one by one. What are different pros and cons they have, right? So they have inbuilt module for plotting different graphs. While Matplot is used to embed the graph into application, C1 is primarily used for statistical graph. So Matplot में आप देखोगे बहुत ज़्यादा generic graphs होते हैं. However, for Seaborn, if you see, it is more specific to only statistical graph. Okay, so give you example. कल हमने एक Seaborn का use किया था pair plot. So what it does is, जितने भी मेरे columns है data में, it will give you that 2 by 2, that entire matrix of all the charts, right? All the scatter plot it will give. So it is more uh, tailored for statistical graphs. I mean statistical science. However, Matplot is a very much generic thing. So still, Matplot is very widely used because it's, of course, it has a very generic use case, but C1 has more specific, or you can say more advanced charts than Matplot. Okay, so when we should be, either of two. Let's understand with a comparative analysis. So I was saying that Matplot is used for basic graph plotting like line charts, bar graphs, pie charts, etc. However, Seaborn, it is mainly used for statistical visualization and can perform complex visualization as well with fewer commands. Okay, so it mainly works with data set and arrays. Okay, it works with entire data set. So Matplot can work with arrays also, and Seaborn is mostly with the data sets only. Seaborn is considered more organized and functional than Matplot and treats the entire data set as a solitary unit. Whereas Matplot act productively with data arrays and frames, it regards the ace figures and objects. So Seaborn is more, more organized rather than Matplot. Okay. Similarly, Seaborn has more inbuilt themes and is mainly used for statistical analysis. Matplot is more customizable. All right, and we will see these two differences. So these two differences are more theoretical, but in a nutshell, Matplot is very much generic, easy to use. बहुत basic charts है उसमें, which you can customize as per your need. However, Seaborn में बहुत ज़्यादा organized and बहुत ज़्यादा detailed charts हैं, जिसको आपको सिर्फ call करना है. They have a very special purpose. Okay, उनको आप ज़्यादा customize नहीं कर सकते हो. And we will see them one by one, so don't worry about it. Okay, so for example, let's take an example of line chart. If I ask you, you have to draw a line, right? Or you have to create a line chart. How you are going to do it? Okay. So what is, first of all, what is line chart? So it's a graph that represent information as a series of the data points connected by a straight line. So जो हमने कल देखा था, right? Yesterday we saw there was a scatter plot, right? There was only dots. So if you simply connect all the dots with a line, you will get a line chart. Okay. So in the line chart, each data points or maker is plotted and connected with a line or a curve, right? So let's see if we have to plot it with both the libraries, how we can do it. So we've simply imported matplot library. So matplot library.py plot. I have called it as PLT, and then Seaborn I have called as SNS. And simply let's say if this is my data. So this is a list, right? So this is a series of points which I want to plot as a line. I can say what I can do is simply मेरा जो matplot को मैंने call किया है, there is this function called plt.plot, and you just give the lists. That's all. This one simple command, plt.plot, and give us list. It will plot this thing for you. So it is that simple, plotting a line. Okay. So to better understand the graph and its purpose, so here if you see, this is just one argument you gave, right? That was just a y-axis argument or a list you gave. So as you can see here, it has considered that as a y-axis, and x-axis में इसने normally index लिया है, like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 points है, so starting from 0 to 5 it has plotted. But you can also give x-axis also. Okay, so let's say if this is some thing with respect to year, तो आप year का एक list दोगे, आप y दोगे, then you will give x comma y. So ultimately plotting is x comma y, right? So you can give x-axis also and y-axis also. So as you can see here, without now it has actually used this. So अगर आप कुछ नहीं दोगे, then it will by default consider as index, and it will simply plot your y curve. Okay, then you can beautify it. How you can beautify? Simply there are called, so what you can do is in this thing, so all these things you have to run this together. So for example, PLT plot, first of all you are plotting this curve, then what you are doing is you are saying same PLT dot x level. So what is your x level? It's year. What is your y level? It is yield. So as you can see here, आपका x level and y level add हो गया है. Similarly, there is called title also. You can add title also. Okay, cool. Okay, right, now you can plot multiple data sets also on the same graph. So how you can do it? Just use PLT plot function, one for each data set. That's all. So let's say आपको apple and orange दोनों ही plot करने हैं, right? So what you can do is you can simply do PLT plot years apples, PLT plot years and oranges, and just do x level and y level. That's all. So you can see in one space you are actually able to plot both the charts together. Likewise, you can plot as many as you want on the same chart. So ultimately होता क्या है ना, when you are calling this PLT function, so you are defining that space, right? So now this space is fixed. So this space refers to this. तो अब आप इसमें जितने भी plots add करोगे, it's gonna add in this same space, right? So that's how it worked. You can add a legend also, you can add a title also, like I was telling you, right? Legend, इसको हम legends बोलते हैं कि what is this apple line, what is this orange color line, and then you can add legend as well, right? So sorry, legend and title as well. So title is crop yields in Canto, so that also can be done. So likewise, you can simply plot a line chart using a matplot library. Okay, cool. Now within this, there are some more functionality also. So for example, आपने PLT plot करके x and y दिया. You could have said कि मुझे mark भी करना है. So you can give the argument. Now first of all, how do you know what all arguments are available? So let's quickly check that out, right? So let me see if I have this PLT library. I will have to define it. So let me call this Matplot library pyplot. Okay. So now let's say simply I have given x equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and y मैंने दिया let's say 10, 40, 50, 100 and let's say 300. Okay. Now I simply did plt dot plot x comma y. So as you can see, it has been plotted now. So now if I want to see what all different arguments are there, I can simply put it my cursor at plot and just do a shift tab. So it shows you what all different arguments are there, right? आप इसको expand कर सकते हो. So it will give you that what all things are does, or alternatively you can search this plt.plot thing is in on Google as well. You will get this. So basically it takes multiple arguments, right? So what all different arguments are there? So it's, you see, it is a very big detail list, right? So because it can plot many things, right? Line plot and other things also, which we will see. So that's what you are seeing here, line 2D. So it can plot lines. So it takes all these arguments, label hai, line width hai. Okay, so you have given x, you have given y, then this might be something. Then there is this label and line width and all, right? If you specify multiple lines with one plot, the keyword apply to all those lines, right? So then you have all these things as well, marker as well, right? So all these are argument which is possible in this thing. So that's how you know. So let's say if I want to give marker, okay, and marker should be, so marker is style string, right? Now marker edge color is there. So in this, you can say all these things are there in a marker. So whether a circle marker or a pixel R marker or a point marker, let's try to give the circle marker, right? Oh, so if I do that, as you can see here, I have got this marking. Similarly, in this, if I just do z equal to, let's say, 40, 50, 70, then 30. Right, so let me give that. And let me simply have ExcelZ. It gave me error. Can somebody tell me what is the error by reading this? Read this and tell me in the chat what is the error. If you want, I can show my data again. So till here it was running. As soon as I added this line, it is giving me error in this line. Tell me what is the error. How will you resolve for it? I'm showing the error again. Now I'm switching back to the screen. Tell me what is the error. Because that's how you will learn. If you are not going to tell or speak up, you are never going to resolve these errors. Because I'm pretty sure, yes, you have to have the same dimension. And if you can check here, I have x 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I have just 4 thing in z. And that's the reason it is saying that xy must have same first dimension. So you have shape 5 and 4. Okay, so you just have to add 10, that's all. So if you see, it has run. Okay, so likewise in the same space, you can create a line chart by giving a different marker. So if you want, you can just press Shift Tab, or you could have simply do plt.plot in Python, and you will get plenty of documentation. So in this documentation, you can see what all different arguments are there. So it's essentially the same thing, Shift Tab, just that here it looks much better because it's a web page, right? There it is just a JSON file you are trying to read. So you can search here what all different things you can give within that. Okay, cool. So likewise, you can give different markers. You can plot multiple lines on the same chart. Okay, now let's say if you want to increase the size of chart, because by default there is this particular figure size, right? So let's say if you want to increase that, you have to define that figure size at the very beginning, top. Then only you have to do other things. So you can do that by defining plot.figure and give the figure size. So if I show you here, so as soon as I have written plot, I have to always define figure size at the top. So figure size, sorry, figure, and then in figure there is called figure size, right? So here you can give, let's say 10,5 I gave. Let's see how it looks. So 10,5, now you know 10 is this, 5 is this, right? So it's up to you. If you want square, you can give 10,10, right? So it's a square. Let's say if you want rectangle only and this to be shorter and this to be full length, then you can give 5 and then maybe 15. So you can get the chart like this. Likewise, you can control the figure size, and accordingly you can, plot whatever you want. Okay, fine. So this is the figure size, and then you can give plot it and give the title also. Okay, now the same thing if you have to do with the Seaborn. Using Seaborn, how you can do it? Easy way to make your charts look beautiful is to use some default styles from the Seaborn. So in Seaborn, there is some default style which is not there in Matplotlib, which makes your chart even more beautiful. Okay, so this can be applied globally using sns.set style function. So what you're doing is simply calling that sns.set style and just doing all these things. तो इसने क्या किया, as you can see here, right? So in this set style, you have called this white grid. So now you can see that there is a grid also coming up. Okay, so whatever you have plotted, and let's say if you want grid, because maybe the grid option is not there in the matplot library, and that's the reason we have called it from here. So simply up, तो you can merge also. So it's not like कि अगर मैंने plotting के लिए सिर्फ PLT use किया है तो I cannot use Seaborn. No, on the same chart you can use Seaborn. You can just leverage the style only. So if I have to do the same thing over here is I will do import Seaborn as SLS, and then again all these formatting and set style size now always it is a best practice that you always define at the top. So let's say sns dot set style, and just use white grid. Now as you can see here, we have got the grid. Okay, so that's easier to read in the chart. Okay, any questions so far? All good? Okay, perfect. So you can just call the style and plot whatever you want to do, give the label and all, right? You can also dark grid. So this was a white grid where your background was white and then you have a grid of gray color. You can make it other way around, that background gray and grid white. So we call it as dark grid. So up to you how you can get it. If you want to know what are other set style, you can simply do Seaborn dot set style, and sorry, you will get all these options. So always look for documentation and you are going to get whatever different arguments you can pass, examples, right? So here you can say set style आपने किया and then you have done the bar plot. You have used SNS only over here. So likewise you can say dark grid. इसके अंदर भी you can change the size also, line style also, right? So like you have defined that it's a dark grid, yes, but then after that you can say that grid color also you can change, grid line style also you can change. Okay, so all these things are possible. Cool. Now let's do the bar graph. So what is bar graph? You might have seen this thing. So again, this is very popular. So typically whenever we want to present something, right, uh, let's say so any kind of a time series forecasting data or a stock market data, we use line chart. Okay, because that's where it is series, right? It's connected. However, wherever you have certain different groups, right, like maybe categorical column you have and you want to show the frequency of each of that item, so that time you show the bar chart. So it's very important what kind of charts you are picking and what kind of data you have, right? So these ऐसा नहीं है कि मेरे पास डेटा कुछ भी हो मैं सब में लाइन चार्ट प्लॉट कर दूंगी सब में बार चार्ट प्लॉट कर दूंगी. No, you have to be careful and see what is your data have, what you want to show, and accordingly you have to pick the chart. ठीक है. So typically line chart what we have learned is used when you have a series data, you have connected data like time series forecasting आपको जिसमें करना है, right? Your like your stock market temperature prediction हो गया, any kind of time series thing which is time dependent, that is definitely line chart is heavily used. I'm not saying it is only used for that, but I'm just giving you an example. There could be other ways also where you can use it. So if your data is connected, continuous, use line chart. Okay. And where bar chart is used, typically, as you can see, these are different bars, right? So your data is not connected. तो अगर आप ईयर देखो 2000 है 2001 है, जरूरी नहीं है यहाँ 2002 हो ही. You can directly jump to 2006, 2010 also, right? So these are different, even though it's a numerical, but actually it's a categorical data, isn't it? It has a category that it has a year of 2002, it has a year of 2004, it has a year of 2005, right? So likewise, wherever you have this kind of a categorical data and you want to plot some frequency or what is the value in that year, what was the count in that year, you can certainly go for a bar chart. Okay, cool. So when you have categorical data, you can represent. So as I was telling, right, when you have a categorical data, you can represent it with a bar graph. A bar graph plots data with help of bars, which represents value on y-axis and category on the x-axis. Bar graph uses bar with varying heights to show the data which belong to a specific category. Okay, so for example, मान लीजिए if you have a years and ranging from 2000 to 2005, and you have these two things. Okay, so if you want to plot this, again you can do that using the bar chart. So simply आप वहां पे plot कर रहे थे plt.plot, instead of that you just have to do plt.bar because it's a bar plot. Okay, so if you just do simple plot, it will be a line chart. If you want to do a bar chart, you just do plot bar, give x and y, and other thing remaining remains the same. That how to give the x level, y level, title, right? Everything else gonna be same. So as you can see, everything is same. It's just that instead of line, you have plotted bar and it's done. So if I show you here, instead of plot, if I give bar, let's see whether it plots these two things together. Acha, I have given the marker. So it is giving me error because marker is not possible for bar, right? Because it's only applicable for line. So you see, it can, in fact, you can give a mix and match also. You can do a bar plot and line plot in the same chart. So there is no such restriction. As I said, right? सिर्फ आप एक space define करते हो. You have defined this PLT. This is a space. Now you can plot whatever you want to do in the same space. Okay, so you can mix bar and line chart also. Cool. And you can change the color, of course. If I am pretty sure there will be an argument called color. Okay. So you can check there should be colors, and likewise you can change the colors of the bars, or you can change the color of the line, whatever. Okay, so you can also stack bar chart. So what is this stacking? So for example, मान लीजिए, so and try to understand the difference, stack bar chart and group bar chart. I'm not sure if group bar chart are also there. Yes, there are there group bar chart. So we'll come to that one by one. But just pay attention because these things may seem simpler to you now, but when you are going to plot it, right, it's a little bit tricky as in, like, what is the best way to represent your data, right? Uske liye you should know what are the possible ways to present your data, then only can choose the best possible way, isn't it? So iske liye, that's why I'm telling you in so much detail. तो एक ये हो गया कि लेट्स से अगर मुझे ऑरेंज और एप्पल का कंपैरिजन करना है, तो व्हाट कुड बी द बेस्ट वे? ऑफ कोर्स आई वांट टू डू दैट इन अ वन chart, right? Now, line chart we saw is a one way. Another way could be this stacking bar chart. So what this stacking bar chart shows is कि टोटल प्रोडक्शन 2001 में जितना था, इसमें आपको, डोंट यू थिंक कि आप इसमें देख के क्लियरली मुझे बता सकते हो कि किसमें एप्पल का ज्यादा था और ऑरेंज का ज्यादा था? So for example, here if you see what we are plotting is both are the bar plots, right? So first I'm plotting apple and then other I'm plotting orange and I'm saying bottom में apple हो, तो blue color is apple. Okay, so you can clearly tell कि what is the division of the total production. तो आप easily बता सकते हो मुझे, और it is even easier than bar chart, line chart, to tell you in which year. If I ask you in which year एप्पल का प्रोडक्शन ज्यादा था, यू कैन क्लियरली टेल कि हाँ, जिसमें भी ब्लू कलर ज्यादा होगा जिस भी बार में, वो ज्यादा है, isn't it? So that's why it is very important how you are going to plot it. क्योंकि ऐसे भी प्लॉट कर सकती थी मैं, there is nothing wrong. I could have plot one thing in bar, one another in line, but does it make sense? Can you compare it? No, right? तो इसलिए what I can do is, if I do the same thing like this, bar and xz, and instead of marker I give uh, so how it was given, bottoms and apple, right? So I gave plot bar, ears apple, then ears oranges, and then bottom mein apples. Okay, I did not have to give it in quotes. Sorry. Yeah. So now don't you see, it tells me clearly कि हाँ, ये जो fifth वाला year है, imagine if it's a year number, that's where you have majority of the apple as comparative to oranges, if it is a production, right? अगर मैं लाइन चार्ट से भी इतना ज्यादा क्लियर नहीं हो रहा था जितना इजीली मैं अभी बार चार्ट से देख सकती हूँ, correct? So that's why it's very important how do you pick it, right? Let's say if I don't give it, then let's see what it does. Okay, so still it plots like that. It does that. Now you don't know which one is at the bottom and which one is that. Okay, so that's the reason it is better you always define that what is in bottom and where it is, right? So you are clearly defining my y is my in bottom, and yeah, x is in z is in top. So likewise you can do the stack chart, क्योंकि stacked है इसलिए we call it as stacking. Okay, so let's tip the data set in the Seaborn next. So database, so let's say you have another data set, okay, in which you have information about the gender, time of the day, total bill, tips given by the customer visiting the restaurant for a week. So let's say if you have a tip data, so you can in fact load the data set also using this SNS library. Right, so you simply sns.load data set, you can do that. Now in this data frame, if you see, what you have is, you have tip, how much tip was given, total bill was given, tip was given, and what was the gender of the person who was giving the tip, whether it was a smoker or not, what was the day and what was the time, and maybe what was the size of the people, like how many people came in that group. Okay, So this can be the data set. Now you can draw a bar chart to visualize how the average bill amount varies across different days of the week, right? Now, I mean, imagine I have given you this data and now I'm asking you, do the data exploration. Tell me what are the insights you can generate out of this data. Okay, तो हम सबसे पहले क्या चेक करेंगे कि what is the average bill amount, right? Throughout the all the days, right? So how it vary. So how you can do it? Simply आप SNS में bar plot कर सकते हो, and where you can give x-axis में your day. So you already have this day column, right? So you can give that for the day, and then for the y you can give as a total bill, and you can just give the data. Okay, so again same thing, bar plot, you have to give x and y, and then also you have to give the data. And because this x and y are the column name, right? So it has to come from some data, so that data you have to give. So as soon as you give it, you can see this is how the average the bill amount, right? And you can see that typically on Sundays you have more of the average what do you say, numbers or amount. Okay, so like you can draw a bar chart to visualize how the average bill amount varies across different days of the week. We can do this by counting the day wise average and then using PLT bar. The Seaborn library also provide a function can automatically compute the average. So this is the difference. This is what I was telling ki Seaborn is more advanced. अगर आपको सेम चीज में PLT लाइब्रेरी से या मैटप्लॉट से करने के लिए बोलती, because if you observe day wise you will have multiple values, right? For Sunday you will have, let's say, 10 records. For Thursday you will have 15 records, right? So you will have to add all of them. So basically आपको पहले group by करना पड़ेगा, then you will calculate the average and then only you will plot, right? However in SNS bar plot it does automatically for you. जैसे ही आपने plot किया y and x and data, so by default there is this, so it has calculated the average and put it over here, right? So let's say if you want to compare bar plot side by side, you can use the u argument. So in fact that also you can do. So मान लीजिए if within this only you want to see that how much bill it is given with respect to the gender, so you can do that by giving the u. So what it does is the same chart it has split it into two groups. So what is this two group? One group is male, another is female. So that's how powerful SNS Seaborn library is. बहुत सारी जो कैलकुलेशन है, जो एक्स्ट्रा कैलकुलेशन है, यू डोंट हैव टू डू इट बाय डिफॉल्ट. देयर आर, सो ऐसा नहीं है मैजिक करता है, देयर आर बाय डिफॉल्ट फंक्शन प्री डिफाइंड फंक्शंस डिफाइंड विद इन दैट. So it knows that whenever you are getting multiple records and still it is asking you the bar plot, क्योंकि ultimately bar plot में एक ही value आना चाहिए ना. For Thursday का there has to be one single value, whereas what you are giving is for Thursday you are giving maybe 10 or 15 records जितने भी bills होंगे on Thursday. So ultimately it understand that there are, if there are multiple values, you just take average. Okay, and it may happen that there might be some argument कि जिससे आप वो setting change कर सको. हो सकता है if you want to just plot the sum, that also you can do by changing that argument. So you have to check SNS bar plot library for that, documentation for that. But that's the major difference, and that's why we prefer Seaborn over Matplot wherever you want to do this shortcut advanced charts. Simply you give u and give here, it has to be a categorical thing, right? This has to be a categorical value. Based on that it will split, right? Imagine अगर यहाँ पे कोई तीसरा gender होता, it would have shown you 3 bars. So these kind of charts we call group charts. Okay, this is stack chart because it is stacked one over the other. Okay, this one is group chart, means if these two have a group, because these two belong to Friday. Okay, clear? Any questions so far? No questions? Okay, let's get going then. Now again, for visualization maybe हो सकता है if you want to plot it horizontally, right? So this is vertically plotted. You see these vertical bars. Let's say for some reason you want them to be horizontal, you can easily do that by switching the axis. तो एक तो तरीका ये है कि आप यहाँ पर आपने x को थर्सडे फ्राइडे दिया था, y को टोटल बिल दिया था, you can simply switch the axis. आप x को टोटल बिल दे दीजिए. So now your x axis is total bill and y axis is your day. So you have simply switched them. Okay. Cool. Now another kind of a chart is histogram. So again, we have already discussed that yesterday, but today also let me walk you through in the detail. So basically, a histogram is a bar representation of our data that varies over a range. So it plots the height of the data belonging to that range over the along the y-axis and the range along the x-axis. So basically, it shows you the distribution of the data set. Correct? So on the x-axis, it shows you the range of the data. Like you put it into multiple bins, right? Let's say if you have age data, right? तो आपके पास हर एक पर्सन की एज है. Okay, maybe let's say from 2 to 100 you have age group people. Okay, so you might create a bins कि 2 to 10 कितने हैं, 10 to 20 कितने हैं. तो अभी आपने क्या किया, age number was your numerical column. It was a continuous variable, right? Age is a continuous variable. Right now you converted your continuous variable into a categorical variable by simply creating a bin. So what is bin? Let's say you can think like this entire range we are putting into a bins or chunks, right? So if let's say you have a age ranging from 10 to 100, you can create a range of 10. तो bins आपके हो जाएंगे 10 to 20. फिर then again so when I'm saying 10 to 20, 20 is not included in this because 20 वाला person is not going to be able to create a bin of 10. जितने भी लोग आ रहे होंगे 10 to 20 में, those are number of people represent your y-axis. That is frequency of the data or frequency of these many people falling into that bin. So that way you can check that how your distribution of the data is. Okay. So let's see the same thing with the data set. So you have this flowered data, iris data. Okay. And let's say in this, there is this column called sepal width. Okay. So let's see if I plot the sepal width histogram. Simply आपको plt.hist करना है and give the column name. So plt.hist, you can give the title also. So as you can see, it has given the histogram. So what it has done, see it was a continuous variables. 3.5 है, 3 था, 3.2 था, 3.1 था. So it knows that the range is from 2 to 4.5. Now this entire thing it has divided between these many chunks. So if you see 2 to 2.25, it has created a bin of 2.5, right? 0.25, sorry. So if you add 2 to 2.5, this one is then, right? 2.25, then again 2.25 to 2.5, then again 2.5 to 2.75, then 2.75 to 3. Likewise, it has created multiple bins. And what it is telling is there are only 4 entries, which is between 2 to 2.5. There are 35 entries, more than 35 entries, where your sepal width is 3.3 to 3.25. Then again 3.25 to 5, it's close to 30. And if you see, as I told you yesterday, it is more like a normal distribution curve. Because if you join the top of this histograms, you think like how do you know if it's a normal distribution or not? Simply imagine there is a center of this bar and you have joining that with a curve. So you see my pointer, so it was following a curve and typically it's a normal distribution. Okay. So likewise, if we check, and you can give the bins also. So for example, यहाँ पर by default it has taken some bin size that was 0.25. But let's say अगर आपने bin size इसने by default 5 लिया, so what it does is simply आप देखो bin size 5 लिया मतलब 5 bins होनी चाहिए. तो 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. तो entire thing 2 से लेके 4.5 को it has divided into a equal number of 5. तो उस हिसाब से ये bins बन गए. Okay, likewise you can change the bin size and look at the histogram. Overall shape is gonna be same, right? but you have to be careful when how you are choosing the bin. It should not be too much, too many, or too less. So 5 seems to be too less. This seems to be ideal. So you will know when you practice, right? There is no ideal number because range changes, data changes. So it is always relative to that. So nobody can tell you the ideal number that create 5 bins or 50 bins. Okay, you have to, when you do the practice, then only you will come to know what is the ideal bin size and how do you interpret it. Okay, I hope histogram is clear now. Understanding towards histogram is clear for you. What it is, why do we use, how do you plot, what does it mean? Clear? Any questions so far? कि हम plot क्यों करते हैं? Why do we need it? Okay, no questions. Cool. Let's get going then in that case. So this was the one. Then you can, in fact, give bins like this also. So what does it mean? I am giving NP arrange 2 to 5 between 0.25. So let's see. I will tell you what does. So let me import numpy. Sorry, and we learned this function when we were learning of numpy, right? So what it does is np arrange I think there is just one single R in this, right? Huh. Hmm. I think it doesn't take the list. As you can see, it has created a range. So NP arrange, it started with 2, ends with 5, and there is a size of step size of 0.25. So 2 to 2.5, fit 2.5, fit 2.75, and this. So what it is saying? These bins I want to create. So that's what I'm giving here. That bins. So यहाँ पर मैंने 5 दिया था, तो 5 it was counting. यहाँ मैंने पूरा उसको range दिया है. So it knows that it has to create these many bins. As you can see, 2 से 2.5 फिर 2.5 से 5. Likewise, it has created these many bins and it is plotting over there. Okay. So likewise, you can change the bin. You can in fact give unequal size bins as well. So as you can see here, आपने दिया है 1, 3, फिर 4, राइट, एंड देन यू कैन गिव 4.5. तो आप देखो एक आपका बिन बना 1 से लेके 3 तक इतना बड़ा, राइट. देन आपका 3 से 4 का बना एंड देन 4.5 का बना. तो आपका 3 बिन्स बना इस रेंज के अकॉर्डिंग एंड दैट्स हाउ यू कैन गिव. सो दैट्स व्हाट आई एम सेइंग, इट इज अप टू you how you want to plot it. Typically I have not seen that we give unequal size of bins. Typically we give equal size of bins only to see the histogram. But it's not like it's not possible. It is possible if needed. Okay. Similar to line chart, we can draw multiple histogram also in a single chart. We can reduce each histogram's opacity so that one histogram bar doesn't hide the other. Okay, so you can plot multiple histograms as well. So how you can do it? Let's say this data frame, right? You have created into 3 different data frames out of it. Maybe whenever your species is Setosa, versicolor, or virginisca. So you have now 3 different data frames. Simply आप उनकी sepal width को plot करके देख रहे हो. Okay, and you have given the same ranges in the two. Up to you, आप different range भी दे सकते हो, but in this case they have given same. Just that they wanted to see if there is a common thing or not. And this alpha thing determines the opacity. So I think you can experiment with that. I think if you put 1, then this is like completely transparent, or you can try it out. One direction it will be completely transparent, one direction it will be completely opaque. Okay, so if you keep anything between 0.5 in both the cases, it is semi transparent, right? So as you can see, आप यहाँ पर देख सकते हो, you can see through. So can somebody explain me what this chart is telling me? What does this common thing mean? Or how will you interpret this chart? If I tell you this orange color is setosa and blue color is versicolor chart, what can you say by looking at this chart? I want an answer in chat. And until unless I get an answer, I don't care if it is right or wrong, but I need responses. If I don't get response, I will not proceed. So look at it carefully and tell me what does this chart telling you, or what do you interpret from this chart, because it is very important. अगर आप इस चार्ट से इंटरप्रिटेशन नहीं ले पा रहे हो, then it's very difficult to you to imagine कि मेरे को कैसे चार्ट्स रखने चाहिए. Okay, fine. I hope you all now have made your interpretation from this. Now just type in chat. What do you interpret with this? Come on, I need answers. You want time to think? I will give you 1 minute to think. I'm gonna mute myself and I'm gonna leave you on this screen. Just think through it. What does it mean? And then type back. Okay. Yes. So, okay, somebody asked, what does 0.25 indicate? It is a range. It is just a value. It's a range 2 to 2.5. That's all. So you have a continuous value, right? You have just created a win. You are just checking that 2 से 2.5 के बीच में कितनी values है. So there are 3 values between 2 to 2.5. Similarly, 2.25 से 2.5 के बीच में there are 6 values. That's all. Still no answers. Okay, let me explain. So what does it mean? If you just look at the orange thing. So what it is telling you, ki imagine if it is a setosa flower. So that kind of flower has width only ranging from 2 to somewhere around 3.5, and majority of them is between 2.5 to 3.25. Just think through it, take some time, think through it, whatever I said. ये जो ऑरेंज कलर का फ्लावर है उसका विड्थ कितना है मेजॉरिटी ऑफ देम फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल रेंज इज बिटवीन 2 to 3.5 हाउएवर मेजॉरिटी ऑफ देम मतलब ये जो मैक्सिमम बार्स आपको कहाँ दिख रहे हैं दीज थ्री राइट तो दीज थ्री आर between 2.5 to 3.25 yes or no is it clear whatever I said is that clear or not okay now same thing you do it for blue color तो जो ब्लू कलर का फ्लावर है व्हाट इट इज टेलिंग यू दैट मेजॉरिटी दैट इट्स रेंजिंग फ्रॉम 3 to 4.5 एंड मेजॉरिटी ऑफ देम इज व्हाट इज द मैक्सिमम बार ये जो 3 है 3 पॉइंट से लेके 3.75 तक मेजॉरिटी ऑफ देम isn't it so if I ask you one single question can you differentiate in a flower based on the width what will be your answer I am repeating my question again can you differentiate a flower whether it's a orange or a blue if I give you a width can you say by reading checking the width that it can be orange or it can be blue with some of course not with 100% probability but with some let's say at least 70 or 80% confidence yes no what is your takeaway by looking at that chart yes any other one I mean any other have different thoughts कि you cannot say and Priyanka you answered yes can you explain me why you said yes in just one line if possible see so actually may you can tell that what is gonna be orange and what is gonna be blue color flower and the reason is very simple as you can see here you have seen that majority so what this chart is telling majority of my orange flower has width from 2.5 to 3.25 okay so I know मेरा जो orange color का width है वो it's gonna be less than blue color का width I I know that there is this common overlap where is will be confusion imagine अगर ये common overlap नहीं होता तो बिल्कुल clear demarcation हो जाता then you could have said with 100% probability imagine ये जो आपको छोटे छोटे colors दिख रहे हैं which is overlap if they would not been there इसका मतलब तो there is a clear demarcation that what is orange color and what is blue color क्योंकि उनका कोई common overlapping flower है ही नहीं मतलब width है ही नहीं so in that case I would have been more certain but with this also I am at least as I said at 70 to 80% confident that if that my blue color का flower का जो width है that is comparatively bigger and that might fall between 3.25 to between 4 so if that is a width that will be a blue color rather than a orange color isn't it अगर मैं आपसे बोलती हूँ कि अगर एक फ्लावर है उसका width है 3.5 what is gonna be your answer orange or blue 3.5 width में blue color right so that's what it is so that is what it is telling you so that's how you interpret from charts तो अगर आप चार्ट को इंटरप्रेट नहीं कर पाओगे यू वोंट नो कि हाउ टू प्लॉट इट इट्स लाइक बोथ द थिंग्स राइट आपको अगर इंटरप्रिटेशन कर पाओगे the faster you will interpret the faster you can think what kind of chart you want to show right so that's where histograms are useful ki if there is a common overlap or not if yes then how much is the overlap right you could have done the box plot also we will see that I think later today only right then you have multiple histogram that can be stacked on top of other so this was kind of a overlap then you can stack also and how to do that simply plot hist kariye and then you can say setosa you can simply in one So earlier you were just defining one value or one list, right? Now you can give list of lists. So you are giving all three lists into one single list, and you are telling that stacked equal to true. So what it is doing, it's simply instead of overlapping, now it is stacking. तो आपको भी ये भी सेम ही चीज बता रहा है कि जो आपके कॉमन बार है वो स्टैक्ड है. तो व्हाट इट इज टेलिंग कि 3 से लेके 3.25 तक, yes there is a common range of all the three, and I can see green is most. So Virginia wala flower have most of them and versicolor have less. Then again, as you can see here, blue color जो है यहाँ पे सेटोसा वाला है, that is on this side more, right? And then orange and green का overlap बहुत ज्यादा है. तो versicolor and Virginia has more majority of the overlap. As you can see, हर एक बार में almost equal का contribution है, right? तो you can say one thing like कि maybe Setosa is very different as comparative to versicolor or Virginia. Those two are might be pretty much same. So that is one interpretation you can do from this. Okay, clear histogram. Shall we move to scatter plots? Any confusions? Okay, good. Then let's move to scatter plots. Right, so scatter plots are used when you have to plot two or more variables present at a different coordinates. So data is scattered all over the graph and is not confined into a range. So when your range is not confined, it is completely scattered. That time you can just do a scatter plot and check. And mostly we have seen, right, whenever you want to see if there is any relationship between two variables, that's where you plot usually these scatter plots. Okay. Two or more variables can also be plotted in this plot. Let's see the same data. So you have this data, right? So you have this species and you have these four variables: length, width of sepal and petal. Okay, so you have seen there are three different unique. तो वेरी सिंपल थिंग, अगर आप दो वेरिएबल्स को x एंड y को मान लीजिए आपने प्लॉट किया लेंथ एंड विड्थ को, and if you have simply done plot, you see such a zigzag thing you do because it try to match all the points. So that's these kind of things you will see, right? So that's the reason instead of line plot you should be checking scatter plot. And very simple way to do that is कि आपको plot की जगह you just have to do SNS scatter plot and just give x and y. That's all. You just have to call scatter plot instead of normal plot. Okay. And reason is very simple. Why do we don't want to show line plot? Because it is these kind of a thing which we don't want to see. Right. So you can plot multiple things also together. तो आप x and y दे सकते हो, and then you can give because you know species is your categorical variable. So what it does, it has taken all the sepal and width and it has simply created a different color bubbles or points for different species. So blue color is for Setosa, orange is for versicolor, and green is for Virginia. And this is the size of the bubble. So if you increase it, it will be bigger. If you reduce it, it will be smaller. So that's how powerful this SNS scatter plot is, like Seaborn libraries. By simply use of this you can create multiple categories in the same chart. So it's easy to see now. So you can clearly say कि हाँ blue color, that's तो हमने यहाँ से भी हमें same inference मिल रहा था, right? Setosa is the one which is slightly different the two. This orange and green are almost same. यहाँ से भी आपको same ही information मिल रही है. That's why the problem says clustering, right? So what is clustering? Simply as the name suggests, कि can I see a similar kind of a thing in a group? तो आप देख सकते हो कि ऑफ कोर्स आपका जो ब्लू कलर के डॉट्स है दिस इज फार डिफरेंट, राइट? यू कैन सेपरेट देम विद दीज टू थिंग्स. बट टेल मी वन थिंग, कैन यू सेपरेट दिस ऑरेंज एंड ग्रीन डॉट्स? Tell me in chat yes or no. Can you separate orange and green dots? No, right? You can separate only blue chart. You know that you just create this line, like imagine that this kind of a line or a circle. You can clearly separate your blue color dots, but you cannot separate your orange and green color dots, and that is what the power of this is. That right, क्या बोलते हैं, Like you can actually plot the scatter plot and check it out that how different it is. So what it is telling me that, let's say if the problem statement in this case is, can you predict species if I give you these four variables? So this will be a typical use case of the problem, for the problem statement for this. Then you can say yes, your answer should be yes. Only Setosa is the one which is very much different in terms of their length, width, however Virginia and the other one is pretty much similar. तो आपका टेक अवे ये होगा. So this is the insight you are generating out of this by simply these two charts. So that's how you define your problem statement, you derive insight out of it. And always remember, आप कोई भी चार्ट बेमतलब के लिए प्लॉट नहीं करते हो. Each of your chart should represent some or the other insight. It should give some useful insight or useful information, then only that's meaningful, otherwise it's useless. Okay, so always pay attention. Try to ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं अगर 10 प्लॉट ट्राई करती हूँ, आई विल बी पुटिंग ऑल 10 प्लॉट्स इन माय मेन presentation. No, I will select those 3 or 4 or 5 main charts which is transferring useful information, and then only I keep it. If I'm getting something of no useful information, I will not keep it. As simple as that. But you have to try them all, because if you will not try them on, how will you know कि किस चार्ट से मुझे मीनिंगफुल इन्फॉर्मेशन मिल रही है और किससे नहीं मिल रही है. Like this is very important chart. That histogram is very much important chart. But you have to think generally. Are giving the same information or there are different information? They both are telling me the same thing, right? Now you think what is easier for you to read. For me, this is scatter, looking at the scatter plot and identifying that was a very easy as comparative to histogram stacking. क्योंकि यहाँ पे मुझे देख के मेजर करना पड़ रहा है, मेरे को चेक करना पड़ा है कि ये अलग है, फिर ये दोनों एक जैसे हैं. यहाँ पर मुझे क्लियरली दिख गया कि ब्लू कलर के डॉट्स बिल्कुल ही अलग है, ऑरेंज एंड ग्रीन आर ऑलमोस्ट मिक्स्ड. तो आई नो दैट ब्लू कलर इज अ सेपरेटर and these two are almost of the similar kind of a species, right? So you know that you have to put scatter plot in a main presentation rather than that stacked histogram. But until unless you plot them both, you will not know, right? So is it clear? How do we choose? So I hope you are trying. See, the whole point of this visualization class is not like कि अगर चाहते तो मैं आपको ये सब नहीं बताऊं और मैं आपको सिर्फ ये भी बोल सकती हूँ स्कैटर प्लॉट है, ये ऐसे प्लॉट होता है, ये ऐसे प्लॉट होता है, ये ऐसे प्लॉट होता है. Ideally that is what the visualization class is. But for me it's not like that. For me it is important that you understand why we are plotting this. What is the inference you will make out of it, how you will interpret that chart. All these things also is part of this class, and that's why I'm paying so much time, extra time and attention to these all these thing details. Okay, so similarly here आप फिगर साइज को, तो सेम चीज है, आपने यहाँ पे सिर्फ साइज बढ़ा दिया है. तो यू कैन गिव द साइज एंड थिंग एंड देन सिंपली आप स्कैटर प्लॉट एक्स एंड वाई करके यूज स्पीशीज को यू कैन डू इट. So here you have changed the dimensions of the size of the bubble. So likewise you can play with that. Okay, then I think we have heat maps. Okay, fine. So I think, yeah, this is the last chart. So let's quickly cover this out, then we'll take a break. So for this heat map, we have already seen one use case yesterday. So let's try to see more where all we can use it. So these are used to see changes in the behavior or a gradual change in the data, right? Because it's a heat map, right? There is a color coordination. So that's the reason we want to analyze if there is any gradual change, because all other charts are very drastic change only, then it will be visible. But let's say if there is very minute change and I want to track that also, that's where I need a heat map, the name called, right, mapping, because it tells you how you are gradually increasing from 0 to 1. Okay, and that's the reason, that's where you use heat maps. Okay, so it uses different colors to represent different values. Based on how these color ranges in hues, intensity, tell us the phenomena varies. Let us, heat maps to visualize monthly passenger footfall on an airport over 12 years from flight data set. So where actually this is a data set from flight. Okay, and you can see that I have created a pivot of this. So let's see that, right? Let me show you in Python. So let me load the data set. So directly, all these data sets are already there in Python library. So that's why we are able to, get it directly. It's not there in my system. It is there in Python library. So even if you just have installed Seaborn, and you should be able to get it. So as you can see here, I have this data year, month में number of passenger. So like 1960 November में 390 passenger थे, like that. Okay, so I have created a pivot for here. So what I want to see, I want to see year wise monthly कैसे gradually change हो रहा है. So that is what I want to track. Okay, so what I want to track is month wise and year wise how my number of passengers are changing. तो उसके लिए मुझे इस तरीके का pivot चाहिए कुछ, right? So what is that pivot? Simply month, year and passenger का. तो I can just create a pivot of the same. Okay, so pivot में मुझे पहले क्या चाहिए? Month, then I am giving year, and then giving passengers. Okay, let's do that. So as you can see here, मंथ वाइज आ गया आपका, ईयर वाइज आ गया, और ये इस तरीके से आपका टेबल बन गया. तो नाउ इमेजिन आपका हीट मैप आपको यही चाहिए. तो हीट मैप इज नथिंग बट इंस्टेड ऑफ नंबर, क्योंकि नंबर को रीड करना इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट, यू आर जस्ट प्लेसिंग अ कलर टू अ नंबर. तो इमेजिन 0 to 1 है ये, या जो भी आपका मिनिमम रेंज और मैक्सिमम होगा इस नंबर का, उससे आप कलर डिफाइन कर रहे हो कि मिनिमम है तो व्हाइट है, मैक्सिमम है तो रेड है, और बीच बीच में जिस हिसाब से वो इंक्रीज होता जा रहा है उस हिसाब से डिफरेंट शेड्स आते जाएंगे. तो बीच में मिडिल होगा तो समवेयर पिंक होगा, लाइक दैट, right? So that's what the heat map is. So all you have to do is, after doing this pivot table, you just give SNS heat map flight step, that's all. तो अगर आप इसको सिर्फ heat map में डाल दोगे, always remember for heat map input should be your these kind of a pivot or a chart, ताकि उसको easily convert कर सके वो. Okay, so let me save this in a variable called a, and let me give this. As you see here, it has plotted. So if I show you a over here, तो आप देख सकते हो कि black is what the lowest color, white or this thing is more high. So as you can see, initial ones are black, right? तो clearly आप इतना easily यहाँ देख के नहीं बता पाते, but यहाँ देख के आप बता सकते हो कि these initial ones are the lowest one, right? Because all of them are black, all of them are below 200, all of them are below 200, all of them here towards 1960 it is more. तो clearly आपको पता चल रहा है, what indication you are giving from here is कि मेरा 1949 से 1960 में ईयर वाइज अगर मैं चेंज देखूं, यस देयर इज अ पॉजिटिव चेंज इन नंबर ऑफ पैसेंजर. आपके नंबर ऑफ पैसेंजर्स काफी ड्रास्टिकली बढ़े हैं फ्रॉम 1949 to 1960. दैट इज अ क्विक टेक अवे आई कैन टेक, बिकॉज ऑफ कोर्स 1949-50 में ज्यादा डार्क कलर्स है एज कंपैरेटिव टू हियर 59 and 60. So that is one insight. What is another insight? Another insight is for over month. तो क्या जनवरी से मंथ, फेब्रुवरी मंथ में am I seeing any changes? So not much, right? So as you can see here, it is colors are changing. So try to identify the direction. Colors are changing horizontally. In this direction it is changing, but is it changing a lot across columns? Not much. I mean, yes it is. Like you can say there is a pattern that these are bright, these are bright, and here it is lighter. So you can say maybe June, July, August में more people are traveling, क्योंकि लाइट कलर यहाँ पर ज्यादा वैल्यू, ज्यादा नंबर ऑफ पैसेंजर है ना. तो यू कैन से दैट इनसाइड एटलीस्ट इन दिस लास्ट 4 or 5 years you can say these kind of 4 or 5 months have more number of passenger as comparative to Jan to May or September to December. So these are the two important insight you derived so quickly by looking at the heat map. क्या आप ये numbers देख के insight generate कर पाते हैं? Yes or no? Itna easily? No, right? So always, so that's what I'm saying. Each and every kind of a chart has, unique way of telling the insight. So you have to be careful how you want to plot it. आपने हीट मैप से किया, आप इसको बार प्लॉट से भी कर सकते थे. You could have simply uh, uh, created a bar or a stack chart for every month, but then that would be too much cumbersome. क्योंकि आप इमेजिन करो 19, आप या तो एक ही ईयर के लिए कर पाते, क्योंकि आप हर एक मंथ का करोगे तो 12 बार्स आएंगे, करेक्ट, ईच ईयर में. तो या तो आपको फिर उस तरीके से 10 जितने ईयर्स हैं, ये 10 या 11, आपको उतने ईयर्स के लिए प्लॉट करना पड़ता, इजंट इट? और अगर आप ग्रुप या स्टैक भी करते तो कितना ज्यादा कम्बरसम हो जाता. एक स्टैक में, एक बार में आपके 10 पोर्शंस होते, राइट? सो if you have so many too many levels, then it's always preferable you go for a heat map. अगर इसी जगह पे मेरे पास सिर्फ 3 इयर्स का डेटा होता या 2 इयर्स का डेटा होता, आई वुड हैव प्रेफर्ड स्टैक बार चार्ट और अ ग्रुप बार चार्ट. ओके, कूल. आपको मैं प्लॉट करके दिखाती हूँ. लेट्स प्लॉट अ ग्रुप बार चार्ट. तो ग्रुप बार चार्ट का अपना ये था ना. लेट मी डू दैट फॉर यू एंड देन you will understand. So it is X, Y, U and data you have to give, right? So if I have to do the same thing, okay, so SNS bar plot. So your X axis is, let's say, month. You have month, right? Yes, month. And Y axis is your passengers. And your U is, let's say, year. And your data is equal to A. Scheme error, could not interpret. So what is A? Oh, okay. I have to give a data frame, right? Sorry. I have to, so what it is giving is, actually I converted into this kind of a thing and then gave, right? So this is an input for, what do you say, heat map. That cannot be an input for bar plot, right? For bar plot, it should be a data frame. So it should be a data frame that is this. So if I have to create a data frame and if I plot df, so it has to be data frame this. So I will have to give df, not A. So in here also it says passenger because I think I have given the wrong column name. So always make sure that you have a right column name. So you see, it is this kind of thing it has given. Now tell me, it is easy to interpret. क्योंकि इसने क्या किया, हर एक मंथ का जनवरी टू दिसंबर, देन हर एक ईयर का आपको ग्रुप बार चार्ट दे रहा है. इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू चेक बिकॉज यहाँ पे बहुत सारे लेवल्स हैं. सो दैट्स व्हाट आई वाज टेलिंग. अगर एक ईयर की, अगर 10 इयर्स की जगह अगर ये सिर्फ 2 इयर्स होते, इट वुड हैव बीन वेरी इजी. आई कुड हैव इजीली सीन 3 चार्ट्स. तो लेट मी डू वन थिंग. अगर मैं यही इसी से df1 बनाती, राइट, एंड आई कुड हैव सिंपली से df and year is just let's say is in let's say 1958, right? Sorry. And here I'm just giving df1. Let me check. Okay, basically, okay. So can somebody tell me why df1 is empty? Whoever will tell this, I will, and I have already given you answer by printing df.info. I will feel very, very happy if any of you is able to tell me why my df1 is empty. So I gave this and still my df1 is empty. Because already there is a तो ऐसा नहीं है कि 58, 59, 60 नहीं है. These years are here. But still when I'm doing this, it is giving me error. Like error as in it is blank. Can somebody tell me why? And answer is here. Anyone? Nobody? Acha, I'll show you a magic and then at least try to think why it happened. I will simply remove these codes. Now it worked. Now you see it's easy to interpret now. Can somebody tell me why? What was the problem if I was putting quotes here? अब तो मैंने आपको आंसर भी बता दिया. You just have to explain. Am I not sharing? I'm sharing, right? Yeah. So what was the problem earlier? What was the problem when I was putting quotes? When do I have to put quotes? String, right? And इसका data type क्या है? Year का integer. So that's why it was not finding anything, because earlier I was given, because I thought it's a string, so I gave it like a string. But it was saying that there is no string. I mean, there is no 1958 string. There is only integer 1958. So that's why now if I do that, I get data over here. Earlier I was getting blank values. So now you see why it is important to know the data type, why I should have given this command first. क्योंकि अगर मैंने ये कमांड पहले रन किया होता, I would have known that here is an integer, it's not a string. I would have not made that mistake at the first place. Right? Clear? Okay, good. Fine. With that, so we have covered heat maps also. So you can see heat maps like this. So you can actually plot with heat maps and a number as well. तो उसके लिए easy तरीका है. Like here, instead of that, you can do like FMTD annotation true. So with annotation true, you will also get the values also. So let's say if you want to see the values and grading, the color grading at the same time, you can do that. Okay, so with that, we have finished the visualization. So let's do one thing. Let's take a quick break. Then we'll learn more about the same. Okay, so let's take 15 minutes break. Let's assemble at 12:45. Okay, cool. Hello everyone. I hope everyone is back from break. Can you hear me? And my screen is visible, so just confirm. Okay, perfect. So let's get going. So there are a few more things in visualization which we have to cover, and then we'll move on to the notebook directly, and we will see various use cases of visualization. Right. So, so this is another important tutorial I found for the Matplot library. So one thing which we discussed about it here, right? So majority of them you already know for now. So for example, how do I plot a simple line? How do I, give a title, X level, Y level? How do I show it? So all these things you already know. There is another thing which is important is what if I ask you, you might have seen in one space you might see multiple charts, right? So what if, how you can do that? So that is something which we will see now, so that you can handle with figure and axis. So what happen is, figure, it is a top level container for all the plot. So what means is, it's a top level container जिसमें कि आप figure size देते हो, right? So it is a overall window or a page on which everything is drawn. Okay, so a figure object can be considered as a box line container that can hold one or more axes. Okay, so जहाँ पे भी हम ये axes दे रहे थे, figures दे रहे थे, right? In this case, I was giving this figure size, right? So what I was saying is, this 15 by 5 is my container. Now in this, I can have multiple charts also. In here, because I have everything, I have not defined axis yet. That's why it is all in the same axis. That's why you are seeing all the charts in one place. But I can have multiple charts also with the use of axis. So let's see how we can do that. Okay, so this axis, what it does is, it is a most basic and flexible component of creating subplots. You might confuse axis as a plural of axis, but it is individual plot or a graph. Okay, so a figure may contain many axes, but a given axis can only be one figure. तो एक एक्सेस में आप सिर्फ एक ही फिगर दे सकते हो. However, in one figure you can give multiple axes. Okay, so let's see how we can draw multiple charts. Right. So let's say what I did, how can I do is, सबसे पहले आप size define करेंगे. So you have to given a plot figure of figure size. So this is your figure. Now in this figure, I am adding simply another axis, a new axis, which I am saying add axis maybe 1 1 1 1 like that. Okay, and I am simply doing a axis plot. So जो भी हम plot कर रहे थे, if you remember, we were doing it in a PLT plot. But now I, instead of doing a PLT plot, I am doing in an axis plot. So this axis I have defined. तो आप ऐसा सोच सकते हो, जो axis है वो figure का subplot है. So within this figure I am saying that this is area, and you plot this particular plot in this area only. Okay, so in that you give x and y, so it will plot it over here. Okay, so we will see when I give multiple plots. Right. So right, so let's say if I have to create a multiple plot, so what I can do is, आप ऐसे देख सकते हो कि I have created now different axes. Now in that different axis I have defining the things. So let's say let's do this one by one and see. Okay, so let's say in this chart, I have defined this figure. I have renamed it as a figure. So this is my area, I know. So let's say this is my axis 1, okay, and this is my axis 2, right? Where let's say I have given this. Now what I'm doing is, simply I will do AX1, because this is the axis 1 I want, and AX2. Okay. Let's see if I do this, what happens. So if you see here, what I did, it actually kind of did the overlapping. तो आपको ये यहाँ से पता चल रहा होगा कि ओवरलैप्ड, बिकॉज सिंपली मेरा जो एक्सेस 1 एंड 2 है वो सेम ही एरिया मैंने दिया है, तो आई हैव टू गिव इट अ डिफरेंट एरिया. तो लेट्स सी, अगर मैं इसको 0.5 देती हूँ, 0.5 and this is 0.5. So now you see it has given you two different charts. Okay, so let's to understand how it exactly vary, you can play with that. Okay, so let's say if I, instead of this, if point one, if I give this, what it will do, it will do something like this, right? So it has taken some space within this only, right? So what if I give all point 0.5, likewise it has divided. Okay, so what it has done, if we have to understand it, so basically it is what it is doing is, it is thinking that whatever is the length, let's say if it is 15, right? So it is saying that you give, you divide it into three, right? And you give one, or let's say two-third to axis one, because this is the axis one, right? And half to this chart. So that's why you are saying this chart is half of this, right? So likewise you can play with these different axes and try to define the sizes separately. Okay, सो इस तरीके से अपन थोड़ा इसके संग एक्सपेरिमेंट करके यू कैन ट्राई टू गिव डिफरेंट साइजेस. सो लेट्स सी अगर अपन और किस तरीके से दे सकते हैं, राइट? हाँ, so in this access class it is the most basic thing, right? So here as you can see, um, we have plot axis 1 cross 1. So this is the entire screen, right? Entire figure size. If I do one everything one, so basically it is left, bottom, width, height. Okay, so what does it mean? That is, what is the, how much is the left, okay, from where it start, where it is my bottom, and width will be this thing, and height would be this. Okay, so if I have to have the, so in this area, like if I give the same thing in same axis, so it is plotting both the things on the same chart, because my axis is remaining same, right? But let's say if I want to have multiple charts, so I can give different axis over here. Okay, so what it is doing, let's say if I increase top and bottom over here, what it will do, I believe it will overlap. Yes. Okay, so what I can do is I can give this one, and here it is 0.5, and so okay, so basically likewise you can do an experiment and test it out. तो ultimately what it is doing ना, अगर आप देखोगे तो this is your XY chart, right? Yeah, this is your XY chart. This is your first chart. तो first chart में I have starting with point 5 and point 5, right? So this is my top and this is bottom. Okay, so that's where I'm starting. This is my starting point, right? And then yeah, and इस case में one में this is my starting point, so that is 1 comma 1, and that's how it is getting plotted from here. So if I want to stack uh, with that, right, how can I do it? Simply I will have to give I think 0. Yeah, I guess so, because I want bottom. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. See, now it has come. So likewise, you can do a hit and try to see how you want to fit two charts in your thing. So ultimately, what it does is, this is your left coordinate and top coordinate, right? Sorry, bottom coordinate. So what does it mean? So your x is 1, right? So let me add some hidden. So basically this one, right? This increasing one is your this first chart, right? So this is your first chart. So what I'm saying in my first chart is the left coordinate is 0.5. So this is your left coordinate, correct? And your top coordinate is 1. So this is where your top coordinate is. Now I'm saying this is the width and height. So you are adding width of 0.5 and height of 0.5. So that's the height of 0.5. So this is this space for my plot 1. Now for my plot 2, what is my axis 2? Basically left coordinate is 1. So basically it will start where it should end, right? So that's why you were saying if I was giving 1 over here in width, it was overlapping. So I should give my left coordinate where the first chart is ending. So that's where it is 0.5 plus 0.5 equal to 1, and that's where it is getting started. Let's say if I give here maybe 1.2, let's see what it does. Yes, that's what I was expecting. It will leaves this 0.2 space in between, right? Now you are getting, तो ये मेरा left coordinate हुआ. Then 1 is again my bottom coordinate, so that's why it is the same thing. So if I give 1.2 over here, now you will see a offset. It will be in some offset. You see now it's offsetted. It's not in one row. So if you want to give in one row, you make sure that you are giving your top coordinate same, and then again your height and width remain same. So it should give like that. So likewise, you can leave some spacing and give something like that. So likewise, you can control your axis and define that which axis you want to plot which chart. So that will make sure that in one container or in one figure size container, you are making sure that you are dividing the subspace appropriately and you are creating multiple uh, what do you say charts together. Okay, any confusion in this? How do I define figure and exercise? Of course it might seem a little bit confusing for now, but once you practice at your own, you will come automatically. You have to remember, first is left coordinate, top coordinate, sorry, bottom coordinate, and then your width and height. So accordingly you can adjust your figure size. So like I adjusted, right? Initially I was also confused, but then when I adjusted, I was seeing that how the movement is happening of a chart, then you will realize it. Okay, so yeah, so as I said, right, left, bottom, width and height. So that's what it gives you. So then that way you can play with that. Then you have something called limits and tick labels as well. So what it does is, so as you can see here, I have defined the figure size, then I have defined the axis as well. So one chart only I am plotting over here. Just that in this, I can simply do x dot plot. Then I can set x limit also. So what this x limit will do, no matter whatever, how much I have in this, it will set between 1 to 2. That's all. So it will set my x-axis limit 1 to 2 instead of 3, right? Or no matter whatever it is. So if you, let's say you want to create a zoomed in part, or you just want to constrain your x level labels, you can do that. The x limit you can set, and then you can also give the tick labels also. So if you, let's say you can give this many levels I want to show, and this many level equal distance it will show. Okay, so this is to control or clip your x limit range, x axis range, and you can show the tick levels what you want to show levels on. Okay, then you have multiple plots for which you can add multiple axes. So as you can see here, right, मेरा जो first chart था, that is starting with 0.1 of coordinate. So 0.1 coordinate somewhere here, and height and width of 0.8. So that's why this is a bigger size, right? 0.8. So it's a square kind of a chart. और जो मेरा second space है, what I have defined is that is 0.5 coordinate. So that is somewhere here, right? तो लेफ्ट कोऑर्डिनेट भी मेरा 0.5 है एंड टॉप बॉटम कोऑर्डिनेट भी 0.5 है. दिस इज माय स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट, राइट? एंड देन माय विड्थ एंड हाइट इज 0.3. तो अल्टीमेटली आप ऐसे सोचो, कोई भी स्पेस या रेक्टेंगल या स्क्वायर डिफाइन करने के लिए व्हाट डू यू नीड स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट. सो दिस फर्स्ट टू थिंग्स आर योर स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट, right? Your left coordinate and top coordinate, and then you simply give what is width and height so that your space is confined. तो आप इस तरीके से आपने दे दिया कि आपको अगर इस तरीके का चार्ट चाहिए, एक बिगर चार्ट एट विद इन दैट अनदर चार्ट, लाइकवाइज यू गॉट. एंड व्हाट यू डिड, सिंपली ax1 प्लॉट में आपने ये दे दिया जो आपको बड़े में प्लॉट करना है, एंड ax2 में यू हैव गिवन व्हाट यू वांट टू शो इन स्मॉलर थिंग. So likewise you can plot multiple charts in one figure. Okay, so this is one way to do it. Of course, there are other ways also. So add axis is one way. Then there is something called subplot as well. So that is also, for the same purpose only, adding first subplot or two subplots. So here, as you can see, यहाँ पर आप figure size define करते हो. Then you defined subplot, and you simply give plot. So that is your first thing, and subplot, adding second subplot, and you give like that. So basically आप, I think equally it will divide thing. So what are the advantage or disadvantage? It does not allow adding multiple subplots at the same time. It deletes the pre-existing plot. तो सब प्लॉट सिर्फ दो ही प्लॉट करने देगा आपको. आई थिंक उसके लिए सब प्लॉट्स है. सो व्हाट दिस सब प्लॉट्स डज, या आई थिंक दैट इज इजियर देन एडिंग एक्सेस. So what it does is, subplots method, you give how many number of rows you want, how many number of columns you want, and that's all. So what does it mean? Here you can define your figure and axis at the same time. तो PLT में आप subplots define कर सकते हो. What does it mean? Number of rows to be 1 and number of columns to be 2. तो इसका मतलब मेरे ये दो चार्ट ऐसे आएंगे, because row is 1, right, and column is 2. Similarly, अगर मैं उल्टा करती तो ये चार्ट, एक चार्ट ऐसा आता और एक चार्ट इसके नीचे आता. अगर मैं number of rows 2 देती and subplot and column 1 देती. So likewise, you can think like you are dividing your entire space into a matrix of number of rows and number of columns, and then you are filling कि किस सेल में क्या जाना है. तो how you are filling? Simply axis 0 है, यानी कि जो फर्स्ट है 0, उसमें आप डॉट प्लॉट करके दे दो क्या प्लॉट करना है आपको, राइट. सिमिलरली जो आपका आप वापस से यहाँ पे 0 दोगे तो इसको ये सेम प्लॉट में देगा. तो it will draw these two things on the same chart because you have defined both the things in the same plots, right. Then if you want to go to the second plot, you can just say x is 1 and you give a chart. तो यहाँ पर आपको सिर्फ एक लाइन दिख रही है. Clear? I feel somehow this is easier than that axis thing, क्योंकि उसमें to get top coordinate or a left coordinate is slightly tricky. This I feel more convenient, and I have used this only most often. So I simply divide my space into multiple spaces by assuming that into a matrix of number of rows and number of columns, and I simply access the each cell by this 0 and 1 and do give my plotting over there. I hope that's clear. Any confusion in subplots and plots? So these are the two major used. Other things you can ignore. Okay, clear? Okay, perfect. Then there is this legend which you already know, right? So let's say if you have multiple things in one single chart, you can create a legend, whether it is blue or orange or any other thing, right? Likewise, you can draw. So it will plot in a certain fashion only. So it will start from first. So if there are two lines, the first line is blue and then second line is orange. Okay. So likewise, it will do. Then creating different type of plots. We already see line graph by using plot. We already see bar chart using plt.bar. Then we already saw histogram plt.hist, right? Then scatter plot plt.scatter. Pie chart also you can plot simply plt.pie, and we will see the live example for this. So this is also simple. This is also another kind of alternative could be of bar chart. So in bar chart you are show different bars, right? Here you can show as a pie that how much each category is contributing. So this is also another important way. So for that, what you have to give is different categories. Like there are 4 categories, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and what is their portion. So that percentage mein portion you have to give. Okay. So that way you can give that 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And you can give this thing for the explosion. So as you can see here, right, this particular piece is getting exploded. So again, another visual effect which looks good. So that you can say here that plt.py, you give the value, the array which you want to put, and just say explode equal to e. तो इसमें you have given that only first value is getting exploded by 0.1, others are 0. Okay, so if I have to plot the same thing, right? So let me show you guys over here. If I plot the same thing over here, and let's say E, I have defined 0.1, comma 0.2, 0.3, comma 0, comma 0. And if I do plt dot pi x explode equal to E, as you can see here, it is coming like that. जो मेरा first value था, it has exploded by 0.1. जो second value, it has exploded by 0.3. तो आप देख रहे हो orange और ज़्यादा exploded है. Then again, third value and fourth value are 0. So it has not been exploded. So likewise, up to you how you want to, visualize it and how you want to show it. So likewise, you can do. Then there are 3D plots as well. Okay, so if needed, you can do the 3D plotting as well to make it more visually attractive. तो आप उसके केस में भी you just mention कि ये figure size है, इस figure size में you just mention projection 3D कि you want to project it as a 3D. तो simply आप projection 3D दिखा के same charts को आप project 3D में दिखा सकते हो. Same line है. तो अगर आप देखोगे, right? Now in this case, since it's a 3D, तो आप तीनों axis दे सकते हो. राइट तो आप प्लॉट 3D कर सकते हो. तो अभी तक हम सिर्फ प्लॉट यूज कर रहे थे. नाउ यू कैन यूज प्लॉट 3D एज वेल एंड गिव योर z x y ऑल द 3 कोऑर्डिनेट्स. क्योंकि ये 3D है तो ऑफ कोर्स यू विल नीड 3 थिंग्स, राइट? 3 एक्सिस का वैल्यूज. तो दैट वे यू कैन प्लॉट 3D एज वेल. ओके, you can read images also. Again, this is not much of a use, but still it is possible. तो आप simply आप import matplot library से. अभी तक हम py plot करते थे. Now you have to import image library in with the matplot library, and you can simply do image im read and read any jpg, png, anything, and you just say image show, plt image show. This im show is plt image show, and you show that read image. That's all. So you can see this image over here. Okay, cool. Then what else? Access class we have seen. Multiple plots also we can see, we have seen, right? So let's go them one by one quickly. See whatever we have not learned, we'll quickly see that. Otherwise we are done. So yeah, so that's even more detailed. How do we create subplots? Na? So the thing what I was telling you, in subplots, how do you give it? So in this case, it is 1 column, 2 rows. If you want to see plot 1, plot 2, this is like a 1D array. You can create a 2D array also with 2 rows and 2 columns, right? So for example, in here, if you want to give subplots 2, तो आपने column नहीं दिया है, तो by default it's 1, right? So that's the reason if you are giving 0 and 1, it is coming like this. So it is assuming there are 2 rows and 1 single column. Okay. Likewise, you could have given like this. इस केस में आपने क्या दिया है? Subplots 3, 2. What does it mean? 3 number of rows and 2 columns. So that's what you are seeing. 1, 2, 3. 3 number of rows and 2 columns. So कितने charts हैं? 6 charts हैं इसके अंदर. Right? And how you can give it? Simply आप इसको इस तरीके से define कर सकते हो कि किस तरीके से आएगा ये x1, x2, ax3, x4, ax5, ax6, because ultimately it is like that, right? There are 3 rows and 2 columns. So you know ax1 is this, ax2 is this, ax3 is this, ax4 is this, ax5 is this, ax6 is this. So that's what you are seeing here. Axis is red color, so that's what you are seeing, red color. Okay. So likewise, you can think how we can create multiple things. Then we also learned about working with legends. We already know line chart, bar plots, right? So let's quickly see one more time. Okay, yeah, so in here, as you can see, simply आप plt.bar कर सकते हो x and y. So it will create these bar plots. You can create them horizontally also by simply swapping, right? Or you can do bar h also. So if you don't want to swap x and y, one way is you swap x and y. If you don't want to do that, simply do bar h. That's all. Okay. Then you can stack bar plot also. So stack bar plot is here. So likewise, you can say, right? We already saw plot bar. You give one plot color you can give, like red, and then again another plot you can say and mention that what is the bottom, that is bottom is y1, that is red color, and another is blue. So likewise you can create a stack chart. You can create a stack chart with more than 2 data also, likewise. So as you can see here, right, it is so difficult. So that's the reason people use generally Seaborn library, because defining like this it's little bit difficult. And जबकि उसमें Seaborn में it's just one single line command which you can run. Okay, cool. So likewise you can do. So this is one way. Let's say अगर आपके पास data frame होता तो आप कैसे कर सकते हो, आपके पास ये data frame है ABCD का, this like you have this data frame जिसमें multiple teams हैं, and then you have this round 1 to 4 columns or values. So simply you can plot df plot, and you want to plot x axis per team, so you can plot your team. You can mention what kind of bar you are looking, so it's a bar plot, right? So you're trying to plot a bar plot, and stacking is true. That's all. Okay, that's it. So once you have given that team, so it will by default it will take all these values, put it in a stack round 1 to 4, and it has plotted. Okay, so likewise also you can directly plot from pandas. Actually it's a part of pandas plot, because directly you are doing df plot. You are not using matplot library or numpy over here. You are directly leveraging it from the pandas. So if you remember, I already told you, right? Pandas is built in on numpy as well as on matplot library. So there are by default some visualization which you can perform from the pandas. So it is that kind of a visualization. Okay. Fine. So somebody asked a question in pie chart, how the data get plotted, like red should be this percentage, green should be, yeah. Okay. So we will see that in pie chart when I will come, na, that time I will show you. Okay. So I'm going one by one. I will show in detail when it will come to the pie chart and 3D plots. So stacked percentage also you can do. Simply आप यहाँ पर उसको percentage मैं calculate कर सकते हो. So whatever value you will go, it will be giving you that percentage also. You can just give the percentage value. That's all. You can add the text also. Again, it is so much complicated. I'm not going in that much detail, but already all these code, I'm already telling you all these location. So if in case you have to, future you need that आपको इसके संग text भी दिखाना है percentage का, that you can do. So I'm not going into that detail. Simply there is a command called plt.text जिसमें आप एक एक करके वैल्यू दे सकते हो, उसकी पोजीशन दे सकते हो कि horizontal aligned, vertical aligned, it has to be in center, how it should be written, what should be the font and size. You can do that, but I'm not going into that much detail. Okay, cool. Right then, okay, so then we already saw histogram, right? So let's quickly check how to plot a histogram. Right, two histogram together also we saw, overlapping histogram also we have seen, bin size also we have seen, right? How do we change the bin size, right? So that also we have seen over here, that 5 bins I want, so it has created 5 bins. And you can give edge color also, so that's what you are seeing, each bin has a edge color. Okay, then we have scatter plot. Scatter plot also, it's very simple. Legend connect scatter plot with a line with several colors. So all these things also can be done. So so scatter plot with the different colors that you can do, right? You can just say X, Y, and then you can give one color to be red. So it will second scatter plot it will do, right, in the same chart, same space. Okay, then you can give in fact a color map. You can say A0 and A1 and simply give a color map, so it will plot it like that. Okay, so that way you can do. Okay, now let's come to the pie chart. So how do we plot a pie chart? Simply, let's say you have this data set, right? Cars and their data. So basically it tells that which car has what maybe percentage, market share percentage all you have to do is just give the data. So typically if you see now whatever value, so इसमें क्या है value है 1 2 3 4. So if you see 1 2 3 4, so it has just taken the value. So entire pie को it has divided in 1 2 3 4. Okay, so total is how much? 1 2 3 3 6 10, right? So if the total size is 10, so it has divided accordingly proportionately 1 2 3 4. Similarly here also ये मेरा data है 2317. So it has accordingly divided the entire circle into this much percentage, and here I have given this data, and here it has given levels. तो मैंने यहाँ levels नहीं दिए थे, that's why it was not showing anything. But for you to plot a pie, you just need one row only, right? With a different percentage. So likewise, you can give this entire data set. It will accordingly divide the entire circle to that, and you can give the label. Okay, and you can just simply do plot show plot. That's all. So clear how it determines the size. So basically, whatever list you are giving, it will accordingly divide the entire circle into that. And if you are giving the labels, it will plot those labels in the same order. Okay, cool. Then you can customize the charts, like as I said, right? Explode आप देख सकते हो, तो कौन सा explode कितना होना चाहिए. So in this case, as you can see, it has been exploded like this. जो भी आपको जितना explode करना हो, आप colors change कर सकते हो. तो you can give colors also, right? So you have given colors, line width also. So this is very much complicated. I'm not going into that much detail, but if you read it, it's actually pretty much simple. It's just that everything is being used in this. तो आप फिगर साइज भी आप डिफाइन कर रहे हो 10x7, आपने उसको सब प्लॉट कर दिया है, राइट? नाउ विद इन दिस यू आर एक्चुअली टेलिंग दैट लेजेंड्स भी ऐड होने चाहिए, कहाँ ऐड होने चाहिए. सो ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर लेजेंड्स. Okay, and then you have set up the title, and then finally you are doing the figure show. Okay, so likewise within pie also, two pies also you can plot, nested pie. Okay, then we have 3D plots. So 3D plots, it's not used much. So I will just, quickly tell you 2 3 things, and then we will get away with that. Because first you grab your command on 2D plots, then you can switch on to 3D plots. Because as I said, right, 3D plots are not used that much. But still you should be aware that it exists. So you can simply create a projection 3D and use plot 3D. So जितने भी हमने अभी तक कमांड पढ़े थे, plot, bar, scatter, everything you just add 3D after that, so it will work. So for example, scatter, it is a 3D. So you give XYZ. Only changes, you give 3D, you define your axis projection as 3D, and you give 3 values instead of 2. That's all. Okay, so likewise you can create a scatter plot. You can give a different coloring code also, right? You can go through this. It would be simple only. Then you can create 3D surface plot also. So this was new. So here you can say plot surface. So basically it will look like this. So you might have seen these kind of plots, right? So it's nothing but we are plotting surface. So of course surface can be a 3D structure, it cannot be a 2D. So that's the reason it was not there in 2D charts. It is there only for the 3D charts. Again, it is not used much, so I don't want to waste your time. So that's the reason I'm not walking you through in detail. But if you are interested, you can read through it, and if you have any doubts, confusion, you can clarify. Okay, cool. Then you have wireframe, contour. So all these things are part of 3D. Wireframe, contours, and that's the reason you were not seeing all these things in previous things. So wireframes are nothing but a mesh kind of a structure. Surface was a complete opaque or thick structure, you can think. Wireframe is kind of a mesh structure. Okay, then we already saw working with images, normalizing the plots. So यहाँ पर all the beautification, you can say how to change plots, how to set plot background, how to adjust position of labels. So all these things you can find here. Styling, the customization plots, right? Then you have applications and projects. So visualizing bubble sort using Python. So here you can find use case that what you want to visualize, you will be getting data, and then you can see how they have actually created it. Okay, so you can see all these projects. So go through this link. It is actually very important one. So whenever you have any confusion or anything in particular you want to learn for about a chart, how to do it, how to plot it, it is a good book to go through it. Start with introduction, how to work with different charts within that, and how do you customize. Everything is there. Okay, cool. Any question so far? Then we'll switch on to then we'll move on to the notebook and we'll end. But before that, if you guys have any question, we can clarify that. No questions? Okay. Then move on to the notebook. So here I have just assembled all the major plots what we have learned. So we'll just quickly go over it. So as you can see, we can call the matplot library, and simply you can define x and y axis, and here I am seeing the figure sizes, right? So you can define the figure size 15 cross 3 and simply do plot xy, and you can do the limiting. So I'm seeing the limiting. I have done x-axis 0 to 10. Similarly, y-axis -3 to 8. So you are seeing that it's from -3 to 8, right? And then you can give x level, y level, title, and even subtitle as well. So the subtitle you have given super. So basically title is this, and then you have given super title, that is sales comparison. Here you can define size and the position also. So all these things you can do in one chart to plot this. Okay, and then you can save also. How to save it? Let's say you worked on something and you want to save it. So you simply save this figure. जहाँ पे भी आपने ये figure में, because it has been saved into figure, right? If you have, so what you can do is, अगर आप इसको plt dot figure भी कर सकते थे. You did not need not to put it in a variable. But if you want to save it, then put it in a variable, so that this variable, whenever I plot, it contains this figure, and I can simply do figure dot save fig, and give the file name which you want to save and a DPI. This is up to you. You may choose to give or to ignore it. Even if you don't give it, simply this particular image will be saved in your system with this name example.png wherever your file is. Okay. Then we learned subplotting, just making number of rows and number of columns hota hai. So let's say if you want to subplot between 2 and 4. Basically you want 8 images with 2 number of rows and 4 columns. So likewise you can give what should be come in this axis करके आप this define कर सकते हो. Okay, then you can read the data frame. So let's say if you have this data frame, you can actually um, you know um, do a plotting over there. तो simply आप क्रॉस टैब क्रिएट कर सकते हो. तो व्हाट इज क्रॉस टैब? इट्स लाइक अ पिवट. तो हमने पिवट बनाया था, राइट? इट्स अ सब्स्टिट्यूट ऑफ दैट. सो इफ यू वांट, इंस्टेड ऑफ गिविंग अ पिवट, you can give a cross tab in which I am giving gear between a cycle. Similarly आप ईयर और मंथ का पिवट दे सकते थे उधर, राइट? तो that cross tab you have given over here. Now this cross tab I'm simply giving to create the bar plots. So as you can see here, I had 3 gears, 3, 4, 5, and number of cylinders 4, 6, 8, and how what is the count. So similarly you are seeing here is gears and cycles you have given cross tab, and you are just plotting that. So again, this is not a part of Matplot library. It is a part of Pandas, because I have never used PLT in this. I'm simply saying that you use these two information and plot a by kind bar plot. So in this, what we are doing is we are leaving to Pandas to use its judgment, whatever is the best possible way it will do that. I'm just saying that मुझे बार प्लॉट चाहिए. I did not define कि stack चाहिए, group चाहिए, x axis में क्या होना चाहिए, y में क्या होना चाहिए. I don't care about it. All I have given is कि I am giving you these values. You just give me a bar plot. That's all. So in that way, pandas plot are more, what do you say, more organized, because there you are just telling me that I need this plot and it will give you that. There are more predefined function within that, right? So as you can see here, you got a group chart of group bar chart with gears in your x-axis, and you can see it is stacked with the number of cylinder, and here is the counting. Okay, so you know how to read it. 3 number of gears में there are 12 uh, number of cars where you have 8 cylinder. So where you have number of more 8 cylinder with this third gear or fourth gear or where. Similarly, you can create a pie chart. उसके लिए आपको सिर्फ एक ही वैल्यू देनी है, राइट? एक ही एरे देना है और एक ही लिस्ट देनी है, आई शुड से. तो लेट्स से गियर्स का मेरे को चेक करना है, व्हाट इज द परसेंटेज. तो आई हैव गिवन ओवर हियर इज, राइट? So labels, it already know value counts when you do, right? So it will tell you which particular gear has how many counts, and that's what it has plotted. So you can see 3 has maximum, 4 has less, and 5 has least. So that's what we were also seeing from this, right? 3 has maximum thing, 4 has low, and then 5 is lowest. And by default also, if you see, na, we did not do a sorting. It automatically did for you. Okay. Then you can do a scatter plot. You can do a histo plot, right? Plot hist with a edge color, face color you can give, bins you can give, right? Then this is new, right? Box plot. So I have already explained you what is that. So I will explain one more time. So basically what it does is, it's a alternative to a hist plot, histogram plot. तो जहां भी आप सोचते हो histogram, वहां पे आप box plot भी कर सकते हो. तो it's easier to do a comparison on box plot rather than a hist plot. तो जो हमने petals का comparison किया था, rather than a histogram, you could have done that with box plot. It's much more easier to see. And what it tells you, basically, what is the minimum value, what is the maximum value, what is the 25th percentile, this line, what is 50th percentile, what is 75th percentile. Then it also tells you if there are any outlier. So whatever value you see, this bubbles, these are nothing but outliers. So there is this one value which is outlier in this mileage column. And you can simply, how you plot it, simply box plot and give the column name, that's all. And vertical true, it is vertical. If you do false, then it will be horizontal. So it will be like this. Okay, it will be like this if you do horizontal. Okay, vertical false. Now in the same way, you can just define labels, titles, whatever, the generic customization thing. Okay, there is something called violent plot also that you can do, but as I said it again, it's not much of a use. At least I have not used in my career, so I'm going to skip to that. Okay. Then you have this Seaborn library. So this example we did, right? Tips wala example. You are simply loading this. Okay. Then what we are doing is we are checking. There is something called strip plot also you can do, wherein you can just give one value, tips, and you can just say that, what kind of values are there, so that you can check, right? Similarly, आप इसमें x axis और y axis कर सकते हो. तो it is like a bar plot only. The only difference in this strip plot is, पहले आपको सिर्फ एक बार दिख रहा था, एक सिंगल वैल्यू दिख रही थी, that was the average value. But what if I don't want to see an average value? I want to see all the points and what is the range. So so see, all these are replacement. Either you could have done the box plots also. आप box plot भी कर सकते थे, but you can do the strip plot also. Strip plot is giving you much more information than a box plot, क्योंकि box plot आपको सिर्फ 5 या 6 पॉइंट्स दिखा रहा है, मिनिमम, मैक्सिमम, 25th percentile, 50th percentile and 75th percentile. ये आपको सारे पॉइंट्स दिखा रहा है. इट इज अप टू यू, आपको किस लेवल का इंफॉर्मेशन देखना है. फॉर मी दिस इज कंफ्यूजिंग. Even though it is giving me much more information, but it is giving too much of information. I don't want that. I will prefer box plot over this, because box plot give me just enough information which I should get. It does not over bombard me with lot of information which is useless. Okay, so why I'm showing you all this, that all these things exist. You take your call that for what particular reason, what for particular purpose, which kind of visualization works for you. Okay, so this is a strip plot. You can say jitter false. So as you can see here, here jitter was true, so it was all showing scattered. Now it is in one line streamed. They have put, again there are different kind of a things, so you can choose to ignore all these things. Okay, then you have this box plot, right? So as I was telling you, right, simply आपको box plot करना था x axis y axis. I would have preferred this. So here clearly I can say that Sunday को ज्यादा टिप्स मिलते हैं बिकॉज संडे का ओवरऑल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन इज हायर देन एज कंपेरेटिव टू अदर डेज. एंड आई कैन सी सैटरडे को मिलते हैं बट सैटरडे को आउटलायर्स बहुत ज्यादा है. तो आई कैन सी दैट इवन थर्सडे को है बट संडेज एंड फ्राइडेज को नहीं है आउटलायर्स. एंड typically Sundays get more tips than the other days. Okay, cool. And then all these then you can get this bivariate thing. So this was univariate, right? We were just plotting one single variable. Here we are plotting bivariate variable, so you can do that. तो simply आप एक join plot करके है, तो let's say so sometimes what happen, you have very limited space and you want to show more information, so you can join plots as well. So likewise there is this join plot in Seaborn library, where as you can see here it is showing you the scatter plot between total bill and tips, as well as it is also showing you a histogram. The histogram of total bill looks like this and tip look like this. तो एक ही चार्ट में आपने स्कैटर प्लॉट इन दोनों का रिलेशनशिप भी दिखा दिया और इनका इंडिविजुअल डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन भी दिखा दिया कि as I can see that it is not uniformly distributed. None of them is uniformly distributed. However, these two are correlated. So I can say if my bill will be higher, then my tip also will be higher, and which is obvious because typically people give tip in a percentage of bill, especially in outside India, right? That is the culture. Typically 1% or 2% of the total bill has been given as a tip. So that's why if you see, if you have paid more bill, your tip also gets increased. Okay, I mean it's logical, right? ऐसा नहीं है कि अगर आपने 100 रुपीज का कुछ खाया है तो आप 50 रुपीज का टिप दोगे, नो. बट अगर आपने 1000 का खाया है तो मे बी you might give a tip of 50 rupees, right? So that's what it is. Then you can give data, you can kind of do KD. So this kind of density plots are there. Again, I'm not going into that, right? Then there is this pair plots, which we have already seen, that it gives you the jitne bhi aapke columns hai in tips data frame, it gives you all the charts of them. So scatter plot and for diagonal term histograms. Okay, and within this also, if you want to see a distribution, you can give as a U, that is a categorical variable. So it is telling you that it's the relationship, what is the relationship between a total bill and a tip, and it also tells you how it is different for a boy versus a girl. So as you can see here, it is telling you orange and blue dots. So as you can see, there is not much difference, it is all mixed. So you cannot clearly say that a boy pays more or a girl pay more, at least for this reason. But yeah, here you can say that if let's say whatever is the blue dot, whoever is the blue dot, that pay more tip as comparative to orange tip, right? But of course unka bill bhi kam hai, so that is one kind of a thing you can say. Imagine if blue color is boys, तो हो सकता है कि boys come in larger group as comparative to girls and they pay more bill as comparative to orange dot. It can be anything, gender, any gender. Okay, so these kind of interpretation you can do, right? Then in here I have taken this data frame wherein you can actually visualize more. So there was this Titanic data visualization. Actually this is I have taken from Kaggle, and I wanted to show you some of the important the like basically to give you a flavor of how do we do actual visualization or data analysis, right? So this was this data which I've taken from Titanic Kaggle study only. So this is a training file, so in which, as you can see here, we have this many data set, right? So we have passenger ID, we have who was survived or not. So if zero matlab they did not survive, one means they survived the Titanic tragedy. Then there are different things, right? Their name, gender, age, which class they were traveling. जैसे ट्रेन में classes होती हैं, right? AC1, AC tier 2, tier 3, tier 1, like that. Similarly, in ship also there were classes, there were parts, there were ticket, there were fare, cabin, all these details we have. So now let's see what we can do out of it, right? How do I go about it when I have to do a visualization for this data? Just a quick check if I'm audible and you guys are following me, right? Okay. So yeah, so as you can see here, the first visualization which we can do is, I want to see who all survived with respect to age. So I can simply do a box plot of survived with respect to age. So simply box plot x equal to survived, y equal to age, and give the data. So what it is telling me that uh, if जो survive थे zero and one is not zero is not could not survive, one is survived. So I don't see any difference in age wise, right? Because the people who survived उनका भी range almost same ही है, between 0 to 70 or 80, right? और जो लोग नहीं survive कर पाए, who were not able to survive, उनका भी range same ही है. So why I'm saying range भी same है, 25th percentile भी same है, 50th percentile भी almost same है, 75th percentile थोड़ा सा difference है, but not much. So what it tells me that age is not the factor जिसके basis पे decide होता है कि whether they survived or not. Okay, so by looking at this chart, by plotting as this chart, I established that age is not an important factor for a survival. Okay, so then I will look for some other thing, right? What I might look at is I might look at let's say gender based on survived. So I can simply do a box plot, bar plot, because here I cannot do a box plot. Na? Sex is also categorical and this also categorical, right? So I will only get the count. I cannot plot a box plot for this. If you try to do it, you will get error. Okay. So here what I did, I wanted to see, is there any relationship between a gender, whether those survived or not. So now by looking at this, what do you think? You guys have to answer. By looking at this chart, do you think, is there any relationship that female gets saved more as comparative to male? So actually it is a percentage. We have converted into a percentage. So what it is saying is, yes, 80% of the people who survived, there were all the people who survived, out of it 80% of them were female and 20% only were male. इसका मतलब फीमेल का प्रोबेबिलिटी सर्वाइव होने का ज्यादा था, फॉर वट एवर रीजंस. मे बी मेल्स फीमेल को सेव कर रहे थे फर्स्ट पहले, क्योंकि हमेशा हर जगह पे पहले चिल्ड्रंस एंड फीमेल्स को सेव किया जाता है, राइट? So that might be one case, but it strongly tell me that probability of survival of a female is definitely more than a male. Do you agree with me or no? Are you guys following like what kind of interpretation we can do? How do we decide what kind of charts, or is it adding values? Okay, I hope it is. Okay, then so likewise you can plot this box plot, and in here only you could have created a U of survival. So basically we saw male, age, and then whether survived or not. So likewise you can do the analysis at the thing. Then similarly classes ke basis pe you can do the analysis, that is there any particular class where survival rate was higher. So I can see, yes, survival rate might be higher for class 1 as comparative to class 3, right? Similarly within this also you can say what was the ratio of male and female. So everywhere you see female survival rate is higher. It's not like in one particular class it is higher, but in total it is higher. So these kind of important insights you can generate, and trust me, generating these charts are infinite. there is an infinite possibility and combination you can generate those charts. You have to take, think logically how, which kind of charts you want to generate and what kind of insights you want to generate out of it. Okay, so with that I will leave, because I will be sharing this information with you, this notebook with you already there. So I want you guys to read it and understand it. So here I have used that subplots for 2x4, where I'm showcasing that, which axis what kind of charts should go in. So I want you to practice, because I don't want to spoon feed everything to you guys. So you guys also have to put some effort with along with me. I'm not gonna put 100% effort. Okay, so I have already put 80% effort. Now remaining 20% is from you. You go through this remaining charts, and if you guys have any question, come back to me, ask me tomorrow. If not, then I will assume that you guys were able to understand it completely. Okay, any questions whatever we have learned today? Nope. Okay, so you have one more day left. Think through it, whatever you want me to revise on Friday, right? Is there any other topic you want me to take care? I can do that, but you will have to speak up and say. So far, I have got just one request for NumPy that I will cover. If I don't get any, then I mean, it's up to you. Your practical knowledge, it's gonna be more, and quiz session will be more. And like, yeah, I mean, I will be glad. Let's say if you have understood everything correctly and you don't want me to revise anything, that's good. Even better is if you come up to me and say, ma'am, I want to revise this, I want you to revise this, so that I will know at least you guys have put some effort and trying to understand something. Okay, with that, thank you so much for your time, and talk to you tomorrow. Have a good day ahead.